Okay, now we're live on all the places that places go live on. Okay, my mistake, little hiccup. And good morning. Ooh, and I can't hear me in the monitor at all. Oh, there I am. Hello.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Oh, we're a little bit late starting this morning, sort of. We actually started right on time, but I had a little hiccup. I was doing a sound check last night for another gig setup, and so when we hit the go live button this morning, we were streaming live to stage it for about 2 minutes, and then I realized, oh, here's the error I've committed. So I had to fix that real quick. All right. So how you doing this morning, Cameron?
I'm fantastic. I'm absolutely fantastic. You know what I noticed? I see a habeas corpses, but I don't see. There he is. There's
my man.
There's the Steve.
I got a Steve.
Got a Ma. Your mom, not mine. Mine would not find this show entertaining at all.
That poor woman.
She's my stepdad might, but he'd have to watch it like with headphones on because
is your mommy afraid of wordy dirds?
She's not only afraid of wordy dirds, she's very how you say proper.
I remember the very first time I ever heard my mother use the F word. I was probably about 34. And I just looked at her and said, Mother. Love you, Mom. Yes. So.
Yeah, I don't. On the other hand, I can count on one hand the number of times I've heard my mother swear, and it was never the F word. So
there are a handful of topics where my mother will become animated in discussion, and I seek them out.
For that exact reason.
Mom says I haven't always been old. Yeah, me neither, Mom. Me neither.
All right, so let's scroll up and make sure we don't skip anybody and get on this.
Hey, Scripshaw says hi to my mother and His Majesty. So, okay, I see Habeas and Crackshot. Good morning, fellas. I see Megan's with us. Morning, sunshine. Fishing, guns, and golf, man. You know what? Maybe we ought to do a show where we take fishing, golf, and guns, and just go to the range or go fishing or something with my old man, and maybe bring a couple of Steves along. Yeah, we might just have to do a fan party sometime. Because we've got a pretty good crop of fans that watch us every morning now, a small but dedicated following that just absolutely warms my heart. So this morning we're going to start with and I guess I could have pulled up a story about it, but we don't really need it because I'm just going to talk about it for a minute. So yesterday our amazing bestest president, most popular president in all of ever, told the world that he has cancer.
Yeah, I know, and we laugh, okay?
The president has cancer.
Well, yes, and we laugh, okay? We laugh, but let's be clear. Let's be fair. This is the kind of dumbass thing Joe Biden might have said even before the dementia.
Indeed. Indeed.
Okay, this could quite literally just be a word whisker, or he's almost 80 and his health is failing. And
I don't know. The very clear, articulate statement, "I have cancer," is that's a hell of a word whisker.
Well, he was okay, but the left actually does this pretty frequently. They're trying so hard to virtue signal and slam, an evil corporation. In this case, that evil energy company. Oh,
yeah.
Like they get so hung up on trying to tell you how bad capitalism is or something that they say something incredibly stupid in the process, and then they won't back off of it, because in order to back off of it and admit they made a mistake, they also have to admit that maybe they made a mistake in their original point. So this could just be that, but it could also be he's 80 and has health problems. That's also a thing. And we learned from Ruth Bader Ginsburg that having cancer and health problems doesn't mean you retire and go quietly into the sunset.
In fact, we learned from Ginsburg that even being completely unable to do your job at all is no reason to retire. That's what office staff are for.
Did you know that it was released some 50, 60 years after FDR died, that he knew he wasn't going to live to the end of World War II anyway?
Yeah.
That he had cancer, he had like lesions on his arms and shit, and just decided to not tell anybody. And
that's an error. You should. Yeah. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole. I just wanted to make fun of Biden for being a useless sociopath with a tendency to shit syllables from his face.
Excuse me, let me be clear. I have cancer on my
pressure. So, what we're actually talking about this morning.
Oh, JDF. Good morning. Good morning. I think that's everybody.
I think you just got I think you caught the last one. What we're actually talking about this morning is public schools in general, but really public schools. But I mean, honestly, maybe to a lesser extent, even the private schools. Even in like private Catholic schools, unless they're a particular persuasion that you pay even extra more for.
I don't know, man. I feel pretty good.
The educators are a problem. The kids aren't all right, my man.
I'd feel pretty good about sending my kids to Yaks around the corner.
I'll give you a maybe on that.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, you have to look at all of it with suspicion at this point, but I, having interacted with people from Yaks quite a bit over the past year, and knowing people that have interacted with Yaks over the past decade, apparently they're the real deal.
What is Yaks for the...
the Youth Academy Christian School, yes, around the corner from us here in Rockdale County.
No, it's also delivered thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of pizza to those people.
That's right.
It was a long time ago.
And it's not like yakety yak, don't talk back. And it's also not like I had too much tequila on Friday night, so now I'm having a bad Saturday morning.
JDF says pulled mine 5 years ago out of public school. I'm glad to hear that. So we've got another homeschool parent that can speak a little bit to that experience. And my wife is watching this morning. Awesome. Because we're homeschooling our kids. We're homeschooling our 4. And when I say we, I mean mostly my wife, because daddy's at work all the time, like the 11 hours that I spent in the truck yesterday for 2 photo shoots. But there are a few good reasons to not put your children in these death camps that we call the public school.
No, they're not death camps. They're kilns. Because you're just making another brick in the wall.
Oh, that's actually solid. That's pretty good. I like that. I like that. I'll get that. Maybe not a rim shot joke, but definitely a joke. And I enjoyed it.
You've got the better buttons over there. I finally have some basic bitch buttons right here.
And you mean the buttons over here that tell stories about why people shouldn't ever put their children in public schools?
Yes, sure.
You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked? Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that right there right? And just to be clear, I'm going to play just a little bit more of the other clip from that same thing, just to kind of drive that point home. I want you to pay attention to this.
Your children will work to convert all their sisters and brothers. Then soon we're almost certain your kids will start converting you.
Fans are protesting. Our fans
There
are
are
protesting.
a couple of points that I want you to take from that second clip from the same song. Yes, I know the song is terrible. Yes, I know all of that, but the first clip shows you a single sociopath who is intent and hell-bent on causing harm to your children with absolute malice aforethought. The second clip, however, shows that there are a lot of these monsters who seek to cause harm to your children, and that they understand and clearly intend for that harm to be generated through a propagation by converting one of your children that they have access to with the intent of sending those children to convert your other children that they don't or may not have access to, and then to propagandize and convert you.
So, let's be honest.
Okay. Alex says, not a single female.
Yeah,
What's up with
he's already
that?
answered his-
And, Alex, what's up with that is if you look at the domestic abuse and violence statistics, you'll find that basically lesbians are way too busy beating their girlfriends to do anything else.
Jesus. Okay. Okay. I'm going to set us up for the transition for the.
Wait, but only about half of the lesbians are are too busy beating their girlfriends. The other half can't see through their black eyes anymore. That's right.
Okay.
I went there, and just
No,
let me put another little bow on that. Over 180 educators face charges for child sex crimes so far in 2022. So in the current year, and even that's being generous to say in the current year. That's being pretty generous.
I know.
In the current half a year, almost 200 teachers on child sex crimes. And you know what? Let's give the left a little credit where it's due. If all sex crimes are essentially rape, then why don't we charge these teachers that way?
I suspect they're gonna be charged that way. For now, the left has to maintain a certain veneer of acceptability. So these teachers, despite maybe being closer to where they want everything to land in the end anyway, well, they've got to be sacrificial lambs at this point, because they've got to be able to look at people like you and I and go, no, we would never. We're going to send all these people to prison for 10 years.
Oh, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that actually. So it says, the article here says over 180 educators in grades K through 12. So we're not even talking about college professors hooking up with some young co-ed, and then she wakes up with him and realizes he's coyote ugly, so she pretends like she was date raped, right? Because please believe that's a thing that happens.
Right.
I'm not saying all rape claims are false, but enough of them are that it's a problem. But the charges faced by 4 principals, among others, range from actually raping children to child prawn. And what will happen, most of the ones that essentially didn't just rip a child's clothing off and abuse them in front of an audience will be excused away with language like, oh, well, pedophilia is an orientation.
Jesus.
Haven't you seen the DSM-5? It's not a crime, it's not a sickness, it's an orientation. It's the same thing as being gay or bi.
Okay.
That will be the argument.
All right, so let's back all the way up. Somebody said something about a lesbian choir. I suspect it would look a lot like a gay men's choir, but it would sound way different. Just by the by. Throwing that out there, okay?
You think it'd sound like, be our guest, be our guest.
Try the gray stuff, it's delicious. Woo, okay.
They'd have one gay man in the choir to play Lumiere.
Oh. Okay, all right. Wow, you blew me away with that. I was just gonna let that be a throwaway joke.
I look great in drag.
Other people are gonna say things along like your dad. I think even evidence will be lost and plea deals can protect an arrest. I suspect there's gonna be a lot of plea deals, but I think the evidence is not gonna disappear because that means you have to make the parents disappear. And there are just certain lines where, like, even gangbangers, like, don't molest a gangbanger's child. You know why? Because they're still a parent. Okay, all right, you can't help it. Do it.
No, go ahead.
No, please. It's fine. This is not my morning. This is your morning.
You think
Go
there
ahead.
are lines that the current government won't cross?
Well, none of them are named Epstein as far as I know. So they're not going to randomly commit suicide as far as I know.
Actually, in all fairness, Epstein is a relatively common last name. So,
Oh my God.
50% percussion instruments.
Oh my God. All right. So far, habeas corpses is in the running for the top comment. Okay, look. Public schools are terrible, and they, at best, they're trying to turn your child into a barely serviceable automaton that quite literally knows just enough to do what they're told.
Yeah, to be a productive communist.
That's right. And now you do what they told you, right? Okay. That's at best.
That's right. You rage on behalf of the machine.
That's right. Okay. That's at best.
Fuck everybody. I'm going to do what they told me.
Right. But here's the other piece to that, okay? For many of us, like, I wish homeschooling my children were an option, but it is not. And while there are financial barriers there, part of the problem is the way our family courts in this system are oriented. There are just certain rights I don't have with my children that I could maybe possibly get if I was willing to spend $10,000 to $20,000 in legal fees. And I'd be I would not be guaranteed to have those rights. Theoretically, and I know your wife would not do this to you, okay? But theoretically, your wife could say, oh, it's fuck this shit o'clock. And then you're a wage slave until your youngest turns 18 and you get to see your children 4 days a month, and she could stick them back in public school. And unless something absolutely fucking terrible happens to them, that's where they would go. And there would be nothing you could do about it. So there's that piece of it. Then there's the fact that, quite frankly, our society is geared in such a way where housing has been inflated in its cost and labor has been devalued in its cost because of encouraging women to work and because of minimum wage laws and a whole bunch of other shit. It takes dual incomes in most cases in order to make things work. In fact, the public school system functions as a babysitting service so that either mommy or daddy can have a job where they work about 8 to 3 so they could drop the kids off at school, pick the kids up from school, and bring in that extra $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year that's necessary to do things like, buy chicken.
Right.
So there's a lot there.
Well, and you mentioned the family court system. Wow, this conversation has taken a turn that I hadn't intended on going down, because I was going to point out the Uvalde situation and a couple of other things as further evidence that you cannot trust the government with your children.
Oh, well, that's another good example. I'm just saying the government fails everywhere.
Right, and so we don't need to we could skip over relitigating Uvalde, but I wanted to mention it because it is part of this broader conversation, which we will continue to have again on this show.
We can talk about it again tomorrow. Comparison of two active shooter situations.
Well, yes, but I mean,
I'm sorry,
I'm
I'll stop.
talking about
Please
the
finish.
conversation that we're having about public schools and the tragedy of the public school system. You mentioned the family court system. It's interesting, don't you think, that the Democrat voter, there are certain demographics which the Democrat targets, where crime is extremely high, and while correlation doesn't necessarily equal causation, correlation does not exclude causation either. And the evidence that fatherless homes generate crime-prone young men and boys in the demographic of, say, 17 to 35, that the common denominator there, and in mass shooters, is almost exclusively fatherless homes. You have a family court system which is also controlled by those same left-wing ideologues, that makes it nigh impossible by the numbers for a father to have active involvement with his children after a divorce. So all of that, I've said it, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. The Democrats want the poor to vote for them. The Democrats go after poor voters. The Democrats go after criminal voters, right? The Democrats actively seek to try and get the vote back to felons, which is a more complex conversation.
Yeah, it's its own philosophical thing. But
they actively seek to get the vote to criminal aliens. They actively seek to encourage voting among the
young, the inexperienced.
They like the young and inexperienced, right? They like stupid voters. They like poor voters. And so what is the motivation, right? What motivates the Democrat? Not finding more poor, stupid, criminal voters.
Your mom has a savage streak.
Creating them.
She actually says you're welcome for not running your daddy off.
I appreciate it, Ma. I really, really do.
Your mom is so sweet until she's not. And then
She's not. Oh, and Sergeant Major says hot muffins are great. I would love a hot muffin.
I feel like he's dropping a hint.
I feel like you might be. Boy, I got a short time hack to run on when we finish the show this morning, though. So, I could probably grab a muffin.
Probably.
Hey, Sergeant Major, bring 2 muffins in 6 minutes. I'll meet you at the garage door. Love you. If an elephant doesn't have parents, it goes berserk and is totally out of control. Humans are similar. Yes. Wow, that would have been fun to be on my list of things to grab a clip for earlier. A baby elephant just losing his shit, stealing a baseball bat, murdering clowns. That would have made my whole morning.
So, I do think, and we talked about this before, I do think the transition, and I think it's why the left fights this so hard. I do think the transition to solve the problem with the public school system is the voucher system. And people say, oh, there are some kids whose parents don't give enough of a shit about them to exercise their vouchers. Okay, you're right. But cold reality is those kids are probably fucked anyway. So why should the other children whose parents, or hell, whose single parent gives enough of a damn where they would figure out a way to use that voucher and send them to a better school, why should all those other children suffer? Because I don't accept the premise at all is that, well, there's one that suffers, so they all must suffer. Be like, I feel like that's the criticism I have of communism. And you guys are saying the quiet part out loud. So anyhow, I think just to put just to move the conversation forward, in order to account for all the failures of government, all the problems in the family court system, and the way we've devalued fatherhood and masculinity, and in a bizarre way, even respect for authority, that the voucher system is the stepping stone for your average mommy and daddy both work and they've got a mortgage and all that, and they both make like $40,000 a year, and maybe one of them is still paying off maybe Oh, hey, look. I think they're
Well,
muffins.
good morning, Sergeant Major.
Good morning.
Anyhow, vouchers are the transition, and your wife even says vouchers help to ensure we don't have an all or none society. Which, man, he even put butter
Put
on.
butter on these muffins.
That is amazing.
They're off.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'm going to break one of my rules and just eat on air.
yeah. Sorry, this is rude, but
Are these banana nut? No, they're
Oh.
bran nut.
no.
Raisin Nut Bran cereal muffins
Oh, right.
and Kraft made butter from some freaky hippie.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's a real deal.
So they're Go Good muffins with hippie butter, and they're hot. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
And hey, Sergeant Major, there's Kona in the pot if you want to go get you a
No,
fresh
I'm good.
cup.
I've got good coffee. Chock full of nuts. It's the man's thing. It's not the pot, it's the pot. I mean, it's not the coffee, it's the pot.
Yeah. So yeah, he says it's not the coffee, it's the pot. Sergeant Major makes his coffee, and I shit you not, Lucy's coffee maker. It's the same old steel percolator that they had in the kitchen on I Love Lucy, and it does make a hell of a good cup of coffee. But it is a lawsuit hot coming out of that spigot. All right, well. This has just completely derailed me. I think we've made our point, though. When we were kids and attending a public school, the teachers had the common decency to merely waste our time with their intellectual inadequacy. But today, they're an active threat. Right? Your children are safer on a San Francisco playground covered in used hypodermic needles than in any given public school today. So, love your babies. Get them out of those concentration camps that we call government schools, and we will see you tomorrow.
Firearms Friday.
Hell yeah, Firearms Friday. We got a good one tomorrow.
Yeah, I better audience can guess.
Yeah, I'm sure you can guess. There's a DGU with a DRT and several of my other favorite TLAs, and we'll see you in the morning. Love you.